It was a cool autumn night, and the open road stretched out before me like an endless ribbon. I was driving through the desolate backroads of New Mexico, a landscape painted with vast stretches of desert and sparse vegetation. As I navigated the winding highway, a sense of unease settled over me. The desert moon cast an eerie glow, revealing an unusual number of roadside memorials. Each one stood as a solemn marker, a testament to lives cut short. I couldn't shake the feeling that the road itself demanded acknowledgement and remembrance. The first memorial appeared as a simple wooden cross, weathered by the elements. A tattered wreath hung from it, swaying in the cool breeze. I glanced at it in passing, a pang of sadness tugging at my chest. The name etched into the wood seemed to linger in the air, demanding recognition. As I drove further, the memorials multiplied like haunting whispers along the roadside. Each one told a different story: a tragic car accident, a motorcycle crash, a pedestrian struck down. The markers varied in size and shape, from makeshift wooden crosses to elaborate displays of flowers and photographs. The weight of grief settled on my shoulders as if the spirits of the departed were riding shotgun. Faces blurred in and out of focus, their silent pleas for acknowledgement echoing in the quiet of the night. I felt a chill down my spine as the apparitions seemed to materialize in the passenger seat, their eyes fixed on mine. I tried to shake off the spectral presences, convinced it was a trick of the mind brought on by exhaustion. Yet, with each passing memorial, the apparitions grew more vivid, their silent cries for remembrance intensifying. It was as if the road itself was a tapestry of lost souls, and I was an unwilling witness to their haunting stories. The landscape, once desolate and silent, now teemed with an otherworldly energy. The wind carried whispers that seemed to speak the names of the departed, urging me to acknowledge the tragedies that had unfolded on this forsaken stretch of highway. I pulled over at one particularly elaborate memorial, adorned with flowers, candles, and fading photographs. The air thickened as I stepped out of the car, the desert night alive with a spectral energy. The apparitions surrounded me, their eyes pleading for recognition. In the dim light, I traced my fingers over the faded photographs and read the messages left by grieving loved ones. The stories etched into the makeshift shrine unfolded like a tragic novel, lives extinguished in the blink of an eye, dreams shattered on the unforgiving asphalt. As I stood there, a disembodied voice echoed in my mind, as if the very road beneath my feet was speaking to me. "Remember us," it whispered, the words a haunting plea that sent shivers down my spine. The road ahead seemed to stretch into an endless abyss, a corridor of sorrow lined with memorials that chronicled the heartache of those who had traveled this path before me. The apparitions, though silent, guided me forward, compelling me to bear witness to their stories. With a heavy heart, I continued my journey, the apparitions fading into the shadows but never truly leaving. Each memorial became a waypoint in this macabre pilgrimage, a reminder that the road demanded acknowledgement and remembrance. The haunting images of those lost along the highway played like a haunting slideshow in my mind. Faces etched with pain, eyes that pleaded for understanding, they were eternally bound to this stretch of road, and I, an unwitting traveler, was ensnared in their spectral web. The night grew colder, and the moon cast long shadows that danced across the road. The apparitions returned, their silent presence a constant reminder of the tragedies that had unfolded on this desolate highway. It was as if the road itself was a living entity, a keeper of untold stories that demanded to be heard. I approached a particularly somber memorial, a collection of weathered teddy bears and faded ribbons. The apparitions crowded around, their eyes fixed on the small shrine as if willing me to understand the pain that lingered there. In a moment of desperation, I spoke aloud, my words carried by the wind. "I acknowledge you. I remember you." The air seemed to vibrate with energy, and for a fleeting moment, the apparitions softened, their silent pleas momentarily quieted. Yet, as I drove further into the night, the apparitions returned with a vengeance. Faces pressed against the windows, hands reaching out as if yearning for connection. The road, now a winding river of grief, carried me deeper into the heart of this spectral landscape. The whispers in the wind grew louder, the names of the departed becoming a haunting chorus. It was as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling, and I was caught in a nightmare woven by the lost souls who traversed this cursed highway. I pulled over once more, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. The apparitions surrounded me, their faces etched with sorrow. "Why are you haunting me?" I whispered into the desolate night. A spectral figure stepped forward, a woman with tear-streaked cheeks and hollow eyes. "We are bound to this road, trapped in the moments before our demise. The road demands acknowledgement, remembrance. Only then can we find peace." The weight of their collective grief pressed down on me, a burden that threatened to suffocate. I felt a responsibility, a duty to bear witness to the untold stories that echoed along this forsaken highway. The road, a living entity of sorrow, demanded not just my presence but my understanding. With a heavy heart, I continued my journey, no longer a mere traveler but a keeper of the tales that clung to this haunted stretch of road. The memorials blurred together, a mosaic of pain and loss that stretched into the horizon. As dawn approached, the apparitions began to fade, their spectral forms dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The road, once a corridor of sorrow, now seemed quieter, the weight of grief lifted with the arrival of daylight. I drove through the fading darkness, the haunted highway gradually giving way to a more ordinary landscape. The apparitions, though gone, lingered in my thoughts, their silent pleas for acknowledgement etched into my memory. As the sun broke free from the horizon, I felt a sense of closure. The road, no longer demanding remembrance, stretched ahead as a path of redemption. The haunted memories of the night were replaced by the ordinary hum of tires on asphalt, the echoes of the departed fading into the rearview mirror. I emerged from the spectral corridor of the highway, forever changed by the journey. The road, once a vessel of sorrow, now bore the weight of stories untold. The apparitions, though gone, had left an indelible mark on my soul, a reminder that even in the desolation of the night, acknowledgement and remembrance held the power to heal the haunted echoes of the past. As I drove away from that haunted stretch of road, the weight lifted, and a sense of peace settled over me. The sunlit landscape stretched before me, a canvas of hope painted over the haunting memories of the night. The road, no longer a corridor of grief, became a symbol of resilience, a path that led away from the spectral whispers of the past. And so, with the haunted highway in my rearview mirror, I drove into the light of a new day, carrying with me the stories of those who had traveled the road before. The weight of their sorrow lingered in the air, a gentle reminder that even in the darkest of nights, the road to redemption was paved with acknowledgement and remembrance. Buckle up for a spine-chilling ride. It was a crisp autumn night, and I found myself cruising down the desolate highways of rural Pennsylvania. The soft hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of my tires on the asphalt were the only companions in the darkness. I was on my way to visit an old friend in a small town, tucked away from the hustle and bustle. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and the air is thick with nostalgia. As the miles rolled by, I realized I had taken a wrong turn. No big deal, right? GPS rerouting is a lifesaver. But this was no ordinary detour. The road I found myself on was narrow, winding through a dense forest that seemed to devour any hint of moonlight. Unease crept over me like a shadow as I navigated the eerie twists and turns. The GPS signaled confidently, assuring me that I was on the right path, but the landscape outside my car window told a different story. The trees stood like ancient sentinels, their skeletal branches reaching out to each other, forming an impenetrable canopy. The air grew colder, and a thick fog slithered along the edges of the road, swallowing everything in its path. The world outside my car felt surreal, distorted. After what seemed like an eternity, the forest reluctantly gave way to a clearing, revealing a town nestled in the heart of the darkness. My initial relief at civilization's sight gave way to an unsettling realization: this town was frozen in time. The buildings, remnants of a bygone era, loomed over the narrow streets. Antique lampposts cast long, distorted shadows that danced in the dim light. A chill ran down my spine as I noticed the townsfolk going about their nightly routines, their movements mechanical and rehearsed. I pulled over, thinking perhaps I had stumbled upon some historical reenactment or peculiar tradition. But the people seemed oblivious to the passage of time. A woman in a vintage dress hung laundry on a line, her face obscured by a curtain of dark hair. A group of children played with a hoop and stick, their laughter a haunting echo of days long gone. I approached a man standing at a corner, his hat pulled low, seemingly lost in thought. "Excuse me," I ventured cautiously, "could you help me find my way back to the main road?" He turned, his face a mask of confusion. "Main road? We don't get many strangers here. Why would you want to leave? The night is young, and the town awaits." Unease gnawed at me as I tried to explain my situation. He simply nodded, as if programmed to acknowledge my words but incapable of understanding them. Determined to escape this surreal purgatory, I hurried back to my car, determined to find a way out. As I drove through the town's labyrinthine streets, panic set in. Each turn led me deeper into the heart of this temporal anomaly. The buildings, though quaint and charming, seemed to close in on me, their facades distorting as if mocking my attempts to escape. My attempts to ask for directions yielded the same vacant stares and scripted responses. It was as if I had entered a twilight zone where the concept of time held no sway. The clock on my dashboard mocked me, its hands frozen in a perpetual midnight. Days blurred into nights, and the routine of the town became my prison. Every attempt to leave ended in frustration as if an unseen force guided me back to the heart of this temporal purgatory. It was a maddening loop, and with each passing night, my desperation grew. One evening, as I wandered the deserted streets, I noticed a peculiar pattern. The townsfolk, in their synchronized movements, seemed to be tracing a cosmic dance. Their actions echoed the celestial bodies above, as if tethered to a cosmic rhythm that governed their existence. It was then that I noticed a celestial phenomenon, a total eclipse of the moon. The sky darkened, and an otherworldly glow bathed the town in an ethereal light. The residents, oblivious to the celestial spectacle, continued their scripted dance. As the eclipse reached its peak, a cosmic force gripped me, pulling me into the very fabric of the town's existence. I felt a surreal connection to the celestial dance above, as if I too were a puppet in this cosmic ballet. The town, frozen in time, was a microcosm of a cosmic order beyond my understanding. In that moment of revelation, the air crackled with energy, and the world around me distorted. The buildings morphed into ancient structures, and the lampposts transformed into celestial beacons. The people, once trapped in a temporal loop, transcended their mechanical existence, their faces bathed in an otherworldly glow. I stood at the nexus of time and space, a witness to a cosmic revelation. The town, once a haunting mirage, now revealed its true nature, a convergence point of cosmic energies that bound the residents to a higher order. As the eclipse waned, the town returned to its quaint facade. The people resumed their mechanical routines, seemingly unaware of the cosmic spectacle that had unfolded. I, however, was forever changed. No longer a mere observer, I had glimpsed the cosmic tapestry that intertwined with the fabric of the town. I became a part of its cosmic dance, forever tethered to the celestial rhythms that governed its existence. The road that had led me astray now beckoned me, not as an escape but as a path woven into the cosmic design. The forest, once foreboding, now embraced me with ancient wisdom. I drove through the winding roads, guided not by GPS but by an inner compass attuned to the celestial dance. And so, I became a wanderer between worlds, navigating the realms of the mundane and the cosmic. The town, frozen in time, became a nexus where the boundaries between reality and the ethereal blurred. As I embraced my role in this cosmic ballet, the haunted streets echoed with the whispers of a timeless truth: in the heart of the unknown, we are but dancers in the cosmic dance of existence. It's a moonlit night in the heart of Texas, and I'm cruising down an endless highway. The open road stretches before me, and the hum of the engine is my only companion. Exhausted and hungry, I see a glow in the distance. A lone diner emerges, seemingly out of nowhere, like a mirage in the desert. I pull into the gravel parking lot, the crunch of stones beneath my tires echoing through the still night. The diner, a relic from a bygone era, stands like a time capsule against the backdrop of the star-studded sky. Its neon sign flickers intermittently, casting an eerie glow that beckons me inside. The door creaks open, announcing my arrival to an empty room. The air is thick with nostalgia, and the scent of old coffee hangs in the air. The only sound is the low hum of a jukebox in the corner, playing a tune from another era. I take a seat at the counter, and a spectral waitress appears, her eyes vacant but welcoming. "Evening, hon, what can I get you?" she asks, her voice a ghostly whisper. I order a cup of coffee, my tired eyes scanning the diner. The booths are occupied by ethereal patrons, frozen in time. It's as if I've stumbled upon a snapshot of the past, a moment suspended in the fabric of reality. As I sip my coffee, the room begins to shift. The once silent patrons come to life, their conversations a distorted murmur that sends shivers down my spine. I watch in awe as the scene unfolds before me, a tragic event replaying like a haunting movie. A young couple in the corner booth engages in a heated argument. The man's face contorts with rage, the woman's eyes welling with tears. The jukebox croons a melancholic tune, adding to the atmosphere of impending doom. At the counter, an elderly man clutches a newspaper, his hands trembling. The headline screams of a local tragedy, a fatal car crash on this very highway. The details unfold before me, and I realize I'm witnessing the final moments of these lost souls before tragedy struck. The spectral waitress pours coffee for the elderly man, her movements methodical. I feel a knot tighten in my chest as the events play out, the inevitability of their fate looming like a dark cloud. I'm an unwilling spectator in this macabre theater, unable to look away. As the tension in the room reaches its peak, the diner plunges into darkness. The only illumination comes from the neon sign outside, casting long shadows that dance across the worn linoleum floor. The air becomes suffocating, and I feel the weight of unresolved issues from my past pressing down on me. The darkness lifts, and the diner resets. The spectral patrons resume their positions, frozen in time once more. I'm left in a state of disorientation, my mind grappling with the surreal events unfolding around me. Determined to make sense of this twisted reality, I approach the elderly man at the counter. "Excuse me, sir. Do you know what's happening here?" He looks at me with vacant eyes, the events of the tragic night etched on his weathered face. "We're stuck here, son. Trapped in the moment before it all went wrong. It's a purgatory of sorts, a never-ending loop." I try to comprehend his words as the spectral waitress returns with my coffee, her gaze fixed on the events playing out in the corner booth. The jukebox begins its mournful melody once again, signaling the start of the haunting cycle. Driven by an inexplicable force, I decide to confront the apparitions in the corner booth. The young couple's argument unfolds before me, their words a painful reminder of my own unresolved past. The realization hits me like a freight train, I'm not just a bystander in this spectral drama, I'm a participant. As the argument intensifies, I feel the weight of my own guilt and regret. The events mirror a painful chapter from my own life, a moment I've tried to bury in the recesses of my mind. The diner, with its otherworldly inhabitants, becomes a twisted stage for my personal demons. The darkness descends again, and the haunting cycle resets. I find myself drawn to the elderly man, desperate for answers. How do I break free from this purgatory? He looks at me with a mixture of pity and understanding. "You must confront the truth, son. Face the demons that bind you to this place. Only then can you break the cycle." Determined to unravel the mysteries of this spectral diner, I delve into my own memories. The events of that fateful night resurface, the pain as raw as the night it happened. The echoes of my past reverberate through the diner, intertwining with the tragic narrative of the spectral patrons. With each cycle, I confront the ghosts of my own making. The guilt, the regret, the choices that led me to this point, they all unravel in the haunting dance of the diner's occupants. The jukebox plays the soundtrack of my life, each note a painful reminder of the path I've walked. As the darkness lifts, I find myself standing at the counter, the elderly man watching me with a knowing gaze. "You're on the right path, son. Keep facing your truth." The cycles blur into a whirlwind of emotions, each confrontation with my past bringing me closer to a cathartic release. The spectral waitress, once an observer, becomes a guide, her ethereal presence a comforting beacon in this twisted purgatory. Finally, as the haunting melody of the jukebox reaches its crescendo, I confront the young couple in the corner booth. The words spoken, the emotions laid bare, I feel a release unlike any other. The darkness descends, but this time, it feels different, lighter, less oppressive. When the diner emerges from the shadows, the spectral patrons frozen in their final moments, I realize I've broken free. The elderly man nods approvingly, his eyes reflecting a sense of closure. The spectral waitress smiles, her presence fading into the fabric of the diner. As I step outside, the neon sign flickering overhead, I find myself back on the open road. The endless highway stretches before me, but this time, it feels different, a path unburdened by the weight of unresolved pasts. The diner, with its spectral inhabitants and haunted cycles, fades into the rearview mirror. I drive into the night, the stars above whispering a cosmic reassurance. The purgatory of the past is behind me, and the road ahead beckons with the promise of a new beginning. The moonlight bathes the Texas landscape, and the hum of the engine becomes a symphony of freedom. The haunted diner, a distant memory, is replaced by the open road, a journey untethered by the chains of regret. As I drive into the unknown, I carry with me the lessons learned in that surreal purgatory. The ghosts of the past no longer haunt my every step. The diner, a spectral waypoint on my journey, becomes a tale to be whispered around campfires, a cautionary reminder of the power of confronting one's own demons. And so, I drive into the night, the haunting melody of the jukebox fading into the echoes of memory. The open road, with its endless possibilities, becomes my sanctuary, a place where the past is a fading shadow, and the future unfolds with the promise of redemption.